Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself how many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for two Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hey there, Thunder Buddies and Travellers down Thunder Road. It's us, Days of Thunder, the WCW Thunder rewatch podcast that you didn't ask for, but we did anyway, coming to you as part of the Voices of Wrestling podcast network and powered by largemanapears.com. I am your host, your torn tricep on Thunder Road, Dave Ryan, and I am joined as I am every week by my faithful co-host, Stagger Lee Malone. Lee, how are you?
I'm not too bad. Look, I don't have a torn triceps.
No. Those things are going around, spreading like hotcakes.
I also don't have a broken foot, unlike one Mr. Steen. But yeah, so maybe I will main event night one of WrestleMania this year.
We have more bookings for Chris Amman's Magic Sponge than we do for actual Mania matches so far.
Fuck that company, and I hope it all falls apart for them.
The old Z-Pack buffet was happening last Saturday by the sounds of it.
But yeah, so that's given me a small bit of joy that they are having a horrible time right now. Although maybe having a great week. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? You wouldn't know by asking them anyway, that's for sure. Don't know dwell too much on that. We do talk a little bit about those kind of the fucking... I guess maybe we should start off by we kind of said it behind the paywall on Patreon last week that we're kind of we don't record this show in a vacuum. Stuff that happens in current day does affect us, and since the last time we were on the free feed, all the Vince stuff has happened. And look, there's going to be podcasts that I think cover it in way more detail than us, obviously, and way better than us, obviously. But I think it is worth noting that this is post that horrible monstrous piece of shit being run out of town with torch and pitchfork. Although I say that it was only when incontrovertible evidence was submitted that he was run out of town. Up until then, they were happy to have him around.
Yeah, it was literally only a week and a half ago they had him at a fucking New York Stock Exchange event. So just horrible, just the most horrific details that came out, and that's what finally done them in. Actually, we shouldn't say that. The man not paying his fucking money that he had promised to pay is what did him in.
Yeah. It was very unfortunate, the choice of words of Dave Meltzer saying not paying it was the worst mistake of his life. It's know what you mean, pal.
Yeah.
I know what you're driving at there. The phrasing not so great.
No, it's Dave, so...
It's Dave. The phrasing's never going to be great, is it?
What was the Peyton Royce phrasing? She got heavier?
It's something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's the
classic Dave.
It's Dave. Dave will Dave.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that. A crappy Royal Rumble is in the books as well.
Oh, fuck me, what a bad show.
I was skimming through it with friend of the show, Keith Brony, and it's, fuck me. Like, I love that every so often you get tempted to peer back in and see what's going on over there, only to be vindicated every single second why you don't watch it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what's almost as bad as the Royal Rumble? To me, anyway. The possibility of visiting St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah, St. Pete. I hear that the induction video when you arrive in St. Pete, you have to watch that full Hulk Hogan sit-down thing.
Oh, God. Unedited.
Unedited, yeah. All his takes, brother Jack.
Just fucking horrendous. Anyway, fuck that company. Let's talk about something good.
Let's talk about a real morally upstanding company. World Championship Wrestling, shall we?
We're getting straight into it, are we?
Well, I mean, I guess I do have Observer stuff for you, if you'd like to tip down that way. Do you know what the cover story in the Observer this week is? So this is from the September 27th Observer.
Is it that Russo was on his way?
No, not quite. It's basically, well, the poll at the top of the Observer is Anarchy Rules, because Anarchy Rules just happened.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Thumbs up, 96.1%.
It was a good show.
Thumbs down, 0.0. In the middle, 3.9. Predictably, the overwhelming choice for match of the night there was Taz versus Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome.
Taz, that was in the match for all of 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. Jerry Lynn versus Lance Storm being second place, but the gap was 58 votes to 8 on that. And maybe not shocking, maybe even less shocking, the Fall Brawl poll results. Thumbs up. How many percent would you say?
14.
0.0.
Jesus. So even the sycophants weren't Observer voters at that point.
Thumbs down, 87%. In the middle, 13%.
That's a generous in the middle.
Best match winner distantly was Lenny Lane versus Kaz Hayashi. Worst match, not that much of a shocker, although there was a lot of competitors for it. Mysterio, Kidman and Eddie versus ICP and Vampiro. I didn't think that match was that bad compared to a couple of other ones on there. But
Malenko Douglas against fucking First Family was a lot worse than that, I thought.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. That was second place in the best match poll. That's what it was. I was skipping ahead on my lines. The worst match poll, outstanding leader, because this is one I was thinking of, Jim Duggan versus Berlin.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, that was much worse.
And second place, Hulk Hogan versus Sting. But the cover story, Lee, to let you off the hook. I know you're sitting on the edge of your seat there waiting to hear what's the cover story in the Observer this week. The cover story in the Observer is that WCW is shite. Yeah, because it's a big long think piece that starts off with whoever winds up in charge of WCW is facing an uphill battle, and it's charting how the company has just completely fallen off a cliff.
And I mean, he wasn't wrong.
No. It's real bad out there, but there's no point. Like, this is all stuff that we have been talking about in real time as it's happening to us on the show. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel the need to, like, it's a big old, like, it's 7 pages in the Observer Jesus. He's ranting for. So I don't really feel the need to talk about it that much.
No, we don't.
No, but we'll scroll down here because there's a few other interesting news bits, both outside and inside of WCW. So the first is, stop me if this has echoes of real life, but the WWF is featuring in 2 lawsuits this week, both about women. One is the WWF is suing Playboy over use of the trademark name Sable in Sable's September issue of Playboy. So apparently they went to print with her Playboy before they had agreed to terms for the licensing of the name Sable.
Okay.
So they are... she had already signed an $850,000 deal herself.
Right.
But no one had signed a licensing deal for the Sable brand, seemingly.
That seems a bit odd that they wouldn't just, because To me, WWE...
She's not with the company at the time, by the way.
I know.
This is the other thing that complicates it, yeah.
Yeah, but like WWE and Playboy always had a good relationship. Like one of the only sit-down interviews that Vince ever did was Playboy.
Which went fabulously well, as everyone will recall.
In hindsight, yeah. But yeah, that's so odd that they'd sued him. Now, obviously, we know in the coming, 2 years, 3 years, they'd obviously sign on and be well on board.
Yeah. That was Jesus. Like again, talk about stuff that's aged like milk in hindsight. Is that it was like the yearly deal? It was one of the big WrestleMania promos. Is that one of the divas would do a Playboy spread? Mm-hmm. That was like a good 5 or 6 years, maybe longer.
Off the top of my head, it was definitely.
What's that pile of magazines you're shuffling through there, Lee?
well, 20 they definitely had the tag match involving the Playboy.
Yeah, Sable and Tori. Tori did it twice, I believe.
Tori did it for she wasn't in 19 because that was the Miller Lite Catfight Girls, if I recall.
But she did too, because I remember she did one by herself, because that was the whole her and Sable thing was based off that she had done one by herself and now they were doing one together.
And then 21, who faced 21.
The only other one I remember
Maria.
Making a big deal about was Christy Hemme. Oh yeah, Maria.
No, it wasn't
made
Maria.
a big deal because
Christy Hemme. Yeah, you're right. It was Christy Hemme.
Maria as well. As
did
soon as you said
okay.
Maria, I remembered. Yeah. But I remember the Christy Hemme thing because that played into her WrestleMania match.
Yeah, because she was not a wrestler.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because, did she have the match or did Ashley take the match on her behalf or something? Wasn't that part of it? It's all such a blur.
Yeah. I mean, I could look it up, but I won't. I want to get bogged down into WWE Playboy angles.
Yeah. Anyway, but it did stretch on for a number of years.
Yeah. The other lawsuit is them being sued by Nicole Bass, which is a lawsuit that a lot of us who were around at the time remember. She announced on Howard Stern on 9/17 and in an article in the New York Post on the same day that she had filed a $120 million lawsuit against the WWF. That on the surface sounds like a publicity stunt, says Dave with his fucking editorializing. Bass claimed she was often groped and humiliated, claiming her breasts were grabbed by an unnamed WWE employee and she was threatened if she complained about it. She also claimed she was supposed to be hit with a flimsy fake guitar but instead was hit with a real guitar. That's the detail I remember. That the guitar wasn't gimmicked. Yeah. Which opened up a cut in her head and the company wouldn't allow her to go to the hospital and instead super glued the cut shut. What's very sad about this is like not only Dave's editorializing that it sounds like a stunt because this is a few months after the Rena Miro one settled. Is that the end of this is that she announced it on Stern, then Stern basically made fun of her for the whole segment for it, which is awful. What else have we got? Oh, so we see a clip of it on this show that we're about to talk about, but on the 920 Nitro, they did an overrun to try and spike the rating, and the overrun was a face-off, Ric Flair versus Diamond Dallas Page having a match. Do you want to guess what the rating was for this overrun? Because overruns usually catch some of the audience for the next show, so they're usually like artificially drag up the rating of the whole hour.
Go on, what was it?
Because it's WCW and they're stone cold, it was a 1.73.
Okay.
It's the lowest rated segment on a Nitro in years, and the lowest rated Nitro main event in history.
Well, see,
the number was so low that it made Kiss and Megadeth Late Show concerts look successful by comparison.
See, they probably didn't even advertise that they were going to have an overrun. They probably just did it.
That's one thing I'll say, like, when I think about how often AEW get their overruns, like, they beat you over the head with the fact they have an overrun. We're going over the top of the hour, we're staying with this as long as it takes. They will say it 100 times over on the show. But I thought that was worthy of note, because it's just like, it is hard to get an overrun to do worse than the show that preceded it, but God Almighty, they managed it.
Especially having just sat through a 3-hour Nitro. Why do you need an extra 10 minutes?
Yeah. If I went through a 3-hour Nitro, that's actually the last thing on earth I would need. I can't imagine anyone going, oh yeah, I could just do it a little extra taste. Just one more bite of Nitro. We have got, Heroes of Wrestling is moving forward, happening next month. We can all look forward to that. It's going to be the first big independent wrestling show in the States in quite some time.
Well, I tell you who won't be looking forward to it is us, because we're never watching it.
We're never watching it. We're on record once again that we're never watching it. You can also add Jesse Ventura to the list of those who are mad at Playboy. Jesse Ventura was on the radio saying he agreed to do an interview for the magazine because he was told it would appear in the December Millennium issue. As it turns out, he will be in the November issue. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but Ventura is claiming they deceived and double-crossed him. He's also forming his own video and record label, which will produce a Ventura CD titled We Rocked the World and a documentary of the same name. The CD will have recordings from local musicians with quotes from the governor, while the documentary will review the campaign, election, inauguration, and post-inauguration. So
Jesse has
a Christmas present for someone.
Yeah, Jesse has always been insane, is what we're establishing here.
Yeah, 100%. I'll just skip through some of these little WCW notes. Right now things are very strange as many are trying to politic and struggle for power in WCW. The booking is largely being handled by Kevin Nash, Dusty Rhodes and Kevin Sullivan, with input from numerous others. The general feeling is that the 920 Nitro was a success, even if the ratings say otherwise. It's an interesting game because so many want power and different alliances are being formed and no one can predict how it will eventually shake out. Nash in particular is going back to the same people he reached out to last year as their saviour in the wake of all the frustration with Hogan's never-ending push, before he basically did almost the worst job of booking in history. Nash blamed his lack of success on the fact that Bischoff would get involved and that he was always forced to push Hogan and wasn't allowed to push the younger wrestlers he'd promised he'd push them now. However, with Bischoff not around, the push of Hogan continued, which caused him to lose some credibility, but he did come up with a semi-major angle for the Mexicans. A rushed angle, but an angle nonetheless. I'm assuming this is referring to the Filthy Animals forming.
Yeah. Well, no, I was thinking the Hair versus Mask match.
Yeah. Well, I guess that does involve the Filthy Animals, one of them. Hogan seems serious about wanting more power. Hart wants input, feeling he at least understands how to book angles that make logical sense. I mean, he can't do much worse. Flair sees this as a chance to gain power as well. Backstage at Nitro was said to be the most relaxed things had been due to Bischoff being gone, but there's no general feeling things are going to change for the better either. So it's like, things aren't better, but we're a little bit more relaxed about it.
Well, it's like they got rid of one problem because Bischoff is gone. But, I mean, they still have, Nash two-facing everybody. Dusty clinging to control. Flair, for whatever reason, wanting control again. Hogan doing the brother routine. Like, it's still a fucking hornet's nest of just arseholes.
Yeah. I will say, I won't get too much into detail here because it'll steal some of our talking points from the show. But one thing that does seem to have changed on a TV presentation, as Dave notes, is that there actually is some planning for the future. So unlike last month where we were 2 weeks out from Fall Brawl and no one had any idea what any of the matches are, we're seeing on TV matches already being booked for Havoc and matches being booked for like the next Thunder and the next Nitro and things like that. And even if the stuff is bad, still having a plan and committing to it is better than being bad and having no plan as well.
Absolutely.
Ted DiBiase recently appeared in the 700 Club and confirmed he was no longer associated with WCW. As best we can tell regarding the Nitro Girls, there were big problems in the camp between Kimberly, who runs the troupe, and everyone else, to the point where several of the women complained to HR at Turner about their treatment. The Nitro Girls won't be performing on Nitro until the end of the year, when the new ones from the weekly Star Search deal are on the team. The problems have apparently somewhat been alleviated. So we know that like Kimberly isn't gone from the company because she's still around for a long time. So have they basically just like canned a bunch of the Nitro Girls?
I think they got rid of a lot of them, like, because Kimberly obviously is around in 2000. AC Jazz, isn't their name? Mm-hmm. She stays around because she becomes a semi-regular character for a little bit. And wasn't Spice Was she on screen for a bit?
Well, I guess we're going to find out. I can't remember.
Well, and obviously, Charmel.
Oh, yes, of course.
Because she comes in with the Genius as her first... Or not the Genius, the artist.
The artist, yes.
The Genius.
Not the Genius. That would be a different thing
we're
altogether.
We're not getting any Lanny Poffo on the show.
No. And he doesn't want it that way either. In the Nitro match where Hogan pinned Page in a 6-man cage match and Billy Silverman only counted 2 after the leg drop, but the match ended anyway, making people think Silverman was the world's most incompetent ref. The actual story is that during the show, Bischoff changed the finish to Hogan pinning DDP with a leg drop. Silverman was supposed to be told in the ring by the wrestlers, all of whom knew, but he wouldn't have. Nobody bothered to tell him, so he stopped the count.
Oh my god. So... These 6 wrestlers, professional wrestlers, these are professionals, very well paid. Were in the ring, in the main event, on TV. And not one of them bothered to tell the ref the finish had been changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've nailed that there. That's exactly what happened.
The stupidity astounds.
Yeah. Biggest locker room joke at the moment is Paige is now going to buy a house next door to Bill Bush. There was minor heat on Benoit for doing the interview on 9:13 where he said that Sid had tapped out the night before but the ref didn't see it. Sid did tap out to the crossface but he wasn't supposed to. Benoit wasn't supposed to bring it up because it would have hurt Sid's invincibility. And I guess the end result is that Benoit is going to have to do another job for Sid. So Sid is dumb and tapped out when he wasn't supposed to. And Benoit pointing out that was a thing that actually happened got him in trouble and not Sid.
How much money do you want to put it on that Arn Anderson told Benoit to point it out?
Yeah, that would be funny. I know you're excited about this one, Lee. Hall and Nash will be back on TV before the pay-per-view.
No, they won't.
They are floating a rumour where they want to go to Japan and win the IWGP tag team titles and come back with the belts, but it's highly unlikely this scenario would take place. Hall's divorce became final last week, while Nash is also undergoing a divorce at the moment.
Yeah, because he was having affairs with Spice, I think it was, from the Nitro Girls.
Stories of Bret Hart suffering injuries to his mouth from the baseball bat shot are just working an angle. Jimmy Hart wants to...
So he didn't get hit with the baseball bat?
Nope.
I tell you what, it looked like he did, so well done, fucking Lex Luger. It's probably the best thing you ever did.
Jimmy Hart wants the announcers live for Saturday night on 9/28. There's also talk, not finalised, of dropping those tapings completely next year and turning that show into a magazine-style show. Goldberg suffered another injury, a back injury while weight training on 9/10, but he worked Baltimore even though he was in great pain. That's why he sold so much of the pay-per-view match with DDP, but he was feeling better as the week went on. Good lord. Dustin Runnels is scheduled to debut in the next week or two, and not as a member of the Cowboys. So,
oh my god, I just thought
he's not straight away spooky paedophile, but
I just thought that they could have brought him in at the top of the fucking Cowboys and it would have made sense.
Yeah, and he would have been
a focal point
of magnitude better in the ring than any of them. Yeah. Yep.
Oh man.
CG Affy, the Lodi fan who runs in every week, got popped in the eye legit by security on 9/13 at the Chapel Hill Nitro. While Doug Dillinger and WCW security were clued into the angle, local security wasn't, and one of them chased him down and punched him in the eye.
Hang on, there's a Lodi fan that interferes every week?
It must be on Nitro, because I haven't seen him on Thunder, unless they mean Lenny. He got a black eye and was complaining a lot. A lot of the veterans who were used to working the old territories where they had to fight their way out of fan riots were really mad about him, complaining about taking one punch. But it is an almost forgivable lack of communication when someone is injured because they forgot to clue in security that they're doing an angle like that.
So this is security and referees that they've forgotten to clue in on angles now.
Yeah. For those of you who love stories about WCW wasting money, Tori Wilson, who has disappeared from television, but you can see her all over every fitness magazine, currently has a 3-year contract and gets first-class tickets to every TV taping. Except for the really top guys, hardly anyone in the company gets first class.
Wow. Okay,
so the most amazing.
I was going to say, so that makes sense for why she was brought into, the WWF, and they felt like they had to humble her. Because how dare she get first class travel?
This is very surprising for WCW. There have been drug tests the past 3 Mondays. So that will explain why Hall and Nash aren't back yet.
Well, I mean, Big Papa Pump just returned.
He just came back, yeah. Flair's daughter Megan will be married next week. Scott Steiner's back is still in really bad shape. Disco Inferno is going to be joining Chavo, Hoovy, and Psychosis in a new group. The idea that all 4 will be mad because they weren't asked to be in the Filthy Animals. It's a great angle. An angle of salty bitches. The current plan, which of course can change, is not for the Revolution to split up with Shane Douglas going heel, but for the whole group to go heel and feud with the Filthy Animals.
The Filthy Animals, who in fact are pretty heelish.
Yeah. Dave issued a correction, and I did notice this, and I was going to make a joke about it last week, but I'm glad because he issued a correction here. The actor taking Bischoff's spot as a major wrestling promoter in WCW is actually named Joe Pantoliano, not Joe Pantalones. Although he is widely nicknamed Joey Pants, which is true. Although he says Joe Pants here in another typo. They'll be filming wrestling scenes for the movie at the 10:16 and 10:30 tapings in LA. His name isn't the Wall yet, but they checked in that Berlin's bodyguard's actual name is Jay Chute. Bret Hart filmed a hip-hop video this week for a Canadian group called The Rascals. And that is the end of your WCW news in brief for this week. Yeah, just another great week to be in WCW, eh?
It's never dull. We'll say that.
Yeah. So, shall we get to this then?
Let's do it.
This is Thunder episode 81 from Norfolk, Virginia, 23rd of September 1999, getting a 2.2 rating. That's up by 0.1. 2 successive weeks of going up by 0.1.
Thunder now the A show.
Yes, absolutely. No messing to start this show. No entrance video, no pre-roll from Nitro, pyro, no, and pens are in the ring. We're ready to go. What's weird is when we do the hard cut to Larry and Tenay, huge boos in the crowd. What's going on?
Well, I don't know if you noticed this, but Larry got up to acknowledge all of his fans when, I know it's ridiculed a lot, but there was maybe 5 people chanting for Larry here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what the boos were about. Maybe they just really don't like Dave Penzer.
Yeah, I don't know. Or they got startled by... It was a preposterous amount of pyro even for Thunder, I have to say.
I mean, listen, Bischoff's been sent home, so the pyro budget obviously went up.
Tonight says the hot 2 topics in WCW are the 2 matches that were signed for Halloween Havoc. So they're letting us know all these weeks. I think it's still 6 weeks until the pay-per-view. We already know the top 2 matches. One is Sting versus Hogan. Larry says Sigmund Freud would have a field day with Sting at the moment and his motivations behind what he's been doing lately. The other match is Sid Vicious versus Goldberg, finally, with special conditions we'd find out about later. Larry calls Sid Vicious a 6'10" endomorph. Do you know what an endomorph is?
I can't say I do, but go on, tell me.
He basically said Sid's a fat ass.
Ah.
An endomorph is somebody with what we would probably call a pear-shaped physique, where from the mid of the torso down, you just kind of expand. So I think he thought he was calling him some sort of monster, but he was just saying that Sid's a bit dumpy. Which he's not. There's a lot of things you could say about Sid, but if anything, I think his legs are quite skinny for a man of his build.
As we'll see in 2001.
Yeah, truly. The exact definition, by the way, I did look it up. An endomorph, a person with a soft round build of body and a high proportion of fat tissue.
Fat ass.
I think he might make Larry number 101 after he watches the tape back of Thunder, which I'm sure he avidly watches the shows back after he watches.
I mean, he's the star of Thunder.
Yes,
so
he's the main character of Thunder. Flashback to Monday, and Chavo and Hoovy save Psychosis from getting his mask ripped off by Kidman. I always find it weird when the baby face is trying to rip the heel luchador's mask off.
This is what I was just saying. The filthy animals are now heels. Like, fucking Kidman is not a face when he's trying to rip off Psycho's mask.
Yeah, it's very strange. Then Chavo comes out and misinterprets deliberately, I think, what Psychosis was trying to say to Kidman.
I did like Chavo interrupting Hoovy saying, no, I speak Mexican.
Yeah, he's like, no, I know what you're going to say is that you want a hair versus mask next week. And Psychosis starts freaking out and he's like, no, trust me, it's fine, don't worry about it. So that's building to next week. Our opening match, Lenny and Lodi all over this show. This is Lodi with Lenny versus Kidman. I do love one of their signs. So one of their signs says "We love the Packers," which I get where you're going with that, lads. Very, very funny. But no, the one that made me laugh was "Thunder only happens when it's raining."
Yeah, very good.
Great tune as well. The ladies love Kidman. When Kidman comes out, there's a very clear high-pitched shriek. Yeah, when he comes out. And it's something that Tenay notices and does reference to that he's very popular with the ladies.
I think it's Larry then that says, rags on him for actually having hair, which is quite an interesting tact to take. Yeah.
Big dive onto Lenny and Lodi by Kidman early. Lodi gets the heat. Kidman goes outside. Lenny jumps him. Lodi then takes out both men on the outside with a diving crossbody, and you can hear him do a very loud "Are you all right?" after they hit the ground. This is the great thing about watching stuff in HD, is that you can hear people call spots a lot and check in with people. There actually was one moment I meant to mention in the women's rumble. I can't remember who it was, took a dive to the outside, and you could it was on top of three women, and you could see all three, the angle they got it at, you could see all three women do the pat.
Yeah,
check and see if she was already synchronized. It was really like exposing the business.
Yeah.
Almost exposing the business as much as every spot Maxine Dupree did.
Oh, that's not even
the rumble.
The rapidly improving Maxine, that's all.
Yeah, the rapidly improving. They should have her do the rapidly improving thing as a gimmick, and she's just doing like Titus O'Neil-esque spots of just like falling over and shit. I think I'd get over big. Like a Frank Spencer gimmick in 2024 WWE. Anyway, he's in charge, Lodi that is, until he tries to powerbomb Kidman. But I think it was one of the best powerbomb Kidman reversals, because they actually teased it a little that he might successfully powerbomb Kidman, and Kidman reverses it at the last possible moment into his facebuster, goes for the shooting star press. Lenny doggedly tries to attack him. It doesn't get him off the top rope, but does distract him long enough for Lodi to recover and hit a superplex. We get a kick out. Lenny tries to interfere. Eddie comes out. This very mistimed diving Hurricane Rana from Kidman. It was like they did it in installments.
Bad Rana. I just have it down as ugly, and that's exactly what it was. It was like like you said, it was kind of like in 3 or 4 different parts, and Lenny Lodi, should I say, was very lucky not to fucking spike himself.
It's like they were posing for photos at each point of rotation in the Hurricane Rana. I didn't care for it. Kick out from that. Chavo comes out. Eddie runs him out of dodge. Kidman bonks Lenny and Lodi together and hits like, I think he's going for his sky high, because he does the sky high, but he doesn't.
He doesn't follow this. He
doesn't take so.
Spine buster.
He basically does a pop up spine buster, like Farouk spine buster. Is basically what he does. Which is a spine buster I'm quite a fan of, but that is not what I expected. And he wins with it.
Yeah, it just looked wrong.
Wins with it as well. That's weird. I wonder, was there some miscommunication or something going on there? We'll get back to this in a second. There's a weird ass backstage segment after this match where Harlem Heat are walking backstage. Booker's going off to get some food. Stevie goes a different way. And then Sid and Rick walk out of the door Stevie walks into, like a second later. And they look back, and I think Sid spits on the ground.
Well, no, Rick Steiner had a 2x4.
Yeah.
And they're doing like the evil, clapping their hands like.
And it's spit on the ground.
Yeah.
Sid's got some incredible jorts going on. Then we get the opening video.
Actually, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think Sid's never nude?
Well, there are literally dozens of them. So who could be surprised? I just picture him like crying in the shower like Tobias. Why, Cindy? Why?
Next time you see a Sid match and you're looking under those black trunks, you might see a hint of denim. You never know.
Do you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I've the closest comparison I can think of to the Sid Vicious promo is Tobias Funke's audition for the fire sale advert.
Fire!
We're having a
sale.
fire sale. It's like, Amazing Grace. I can't even see the door.
Oh, I love it.
It's the greatest show of all time. So yeah, the opening video for Thunder finally happens, and then we go back to Goldberg and Sid from Monday. Goldberg and his fucking enormous traps lay down the challenge. Like, most of the screen is taken up by shoulder and trap.
It's just his head and then everything around it.
He looks like fucking Nappa from Dragon Ball Z, like just preposterously jacked in a way that has to have been drawn rather than exist in the wild. He says there ain't no fear in these eyes. Sid accepts once Goldberg accepts special conditions that he won't come within 10 feet of him, can't touch him, and must do what he says. Tenay then calls out Harlem Heat onto the ramp for an interview, but only Booker comes out. He says that Stevie Ray is on the way to the hospital with a big bump on his head, courtesy of Sid and Rick. And this is where I fucking lost a rag, because then I realised that weird interaction backstage was supposed to imply that they had just attacked him. But Lee, the gap of time
it was like
in between...
Legit 3 seconds.
No, it's not even 3 seconds, Lee. You're being extremely generous there. It's 2 at a push. It's 2 at a push.
Maybe
if I went frame by frame, I wouldn't be surprised if you can see them walk past each other. And I'll tell you one thing, there's definitely not. The sound of a 2x4 hitting someone's head is definitely not recorded in there.
Maybe it was an Earl Hebner too. It was a...
And even if we're led to believe that attack happened, we know for a fact Booker T is not far enough away that he wouldn't have heard it.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Stop trying to put your continuity Malone hat on here. I'm not having any of this.
Listen. I'm just saying there's worse things to get out of this than fucking Booker T versus Sid.
So he's going to check in with Stevie later at the hospital, but tonight he wants to challenge Sid in the main event. Next match, and I can't believe I'm saying this, maybe the best actual wrestling match on this show in several weeks. It's Mona versus Brandy Alexander. Brandy Alexander comes out in a bin bag Halloween costume. And then I wrote, I can't even remember what it is, but I just wrote all caps, what is this song Mona has?
Yeah.
This theme song is diabolical.
It was bad. But, this match ruled. Like, this was good. This wasn't like...
This is not the first one. This is what I was talking to... God, who was I talking to on Twitter?
It was Wiretop, wasn't it?
Yeah, Wiretop, yeah. About the match. And, this is the latest in their series of televised matches in 99. They have a few of them. We've already covered, I think, 2.
Mm-hmm. I think we get another one anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not even grading on a curve. It's good.
Yeah, it is, and it's just, but it's it's nothing spectacular.
No,
do you know what I mean? It's just good, basic, largely mat-based wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a lot of notes on it because it's all lots of pinning combos and mat work and holds. Really, really fucking solid. The one thing I will say. I wrote down here is I feel like Mona wrestling in bare feet is not something she could do now because of how weird people are. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
Oh God! I want to suggest that, but I absolutely don't want to suggest that to somebody as a character.
Yeah. Oh God! You could see it like if she's on Raw now. Like just the trending topic would be like she posting feet. Like fucking people suck, man. People suck and they're weird. Like, I don't mean to kink shame, but do I not mean to?
What was the famous Twitter handle that Joe and Rich would always bring up? It was like fucking Tenzon's left nipple or something.
Yeah.
All those puro. You'd get something like Maxine's left big toe or something.
Yeah. The finish comes when Mona hits a really good monkey flip out of the corner, and she runs to the opposite corner, goes for another. Brandy stuffs the monkey flip and then uses the rope to roll Mona up and win. And this is the thing I was saying to Wiretop on Twitter. I was like, this feud puts paid to the idea that audiences wouldn't have accepted women's wrestling if you presented it seriously.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, like they weren't sent out here as eye candy. They were sent out here to wrestle.
Mm-hmm. And it got over.
Mm-hmm. Well,
crowd were into it.
It does every time.
They weren't just into the finish. They were into the big moves. They were cheering Mona. They liked this. And it's such a shame that they do these sporadically every couple of months, almost like by fucking court order, how irregular they do them. Because they actually, and this is one of those things, and people talk now about how AEW shouldn't be chasing being WWE light because we've already got WWE.
Mm-hmm.
One area that WCW could have focused on that WWF did not have their eyes on was actually having a women's division.
Like, imagine if in the year 2000, Jazz ended up in WCW and not in ECW.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was plenty of women in the States that, don't get me wrong, there wasn't the quantity that there is now, but like there would have been women wrestlers in 2000 that were capable of going on TV and having a match just like this.
Yeah, truly.
And
this is really, really enjoyable.
And that's before you even get into the possibility of, you know, linking up with some Joshi promotion of the time.
Yeah. You have a kid in the crowd with a fucking enormous WCW Mayhem box that he obviously made himself. Fair play. I don't know who could be that big a fan of WCW Mayhem on the N64.
I don't think he made it himself, Dave, because there was somebody with a PlayStation 1 right beside him.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, goddamn plants. Either that or it was just a family with a lot of spare time.
Well, speaking of WCW games and their boxes, have you seen the GCW?
That's a hell of a segue.
The GCW and JCW versus the World logo.
No,
they're doing a show.
Parody of the game, yeah.
They're doing a show on Mania weekend. I think it's the Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's GCW/JCW, very WCW versus NWO versus the World. It's the exact same. It has like the PlayStation, you know, the different colour strip down the sides with the rating, and it's very good. Like the best thing GCW has done in like 4 years.
It's not a particularly high bar, is it? Yeah. Where are we at now? Oh yeah, commiserations, Lee, because Evan Cray just beats Blitzkrieg on Monday to earn a cruiserweight title shot.
You could have got another Blitzkrieg match, man.
Yeah. Speaking of wastes, we get Perry Saturn in a singles match, but he has to wrestle Chavo.
Yeah.
Now, I will say there were some fun moments here, and those were the moments where Perry Saturn got sick of this piece of shit and just started throwing him around the place.
He just hit him, yeah. This match was a goddamn mess. I don't know what the fuck was going on here. Yeah.
I don't know what Chavo is. I mean, generally, but specifically now, I don't know what they're going for with him. No one buys when he has the heat on Perry Saturn because it's Perry Saturn.
I will say they've done a very good job burying Perry Saturn recently. Like when you consider the reactions he used to get.
Yeah, they've really pulled the pin on that guy.
It's really kind of sad.
But they still back him to kick Chavo's ass, for sure. There's a great bit where, like, Larry clearly doesn't think Chavo's a good wrestler, because Larry is even burying how he pins people, saying he's doing it all wrong. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense wrestling-wise to pin him the way he pins him. So what have we got here? Saturn hits a snap T-bone out of the corner, which looks class. A release belly-to-belly overhead suplex. Stacks Chavo up on the top. Eddie comes out. He accidentally low blows Chavo. Saturn doesn't want to take advantage of it and take the pin. So this finish sucked. Eddie drop kicks Saturn into Chavo. Saturn falls down, legs akimbo. And Chavo does the spot where he collapses head first on his balls and low blows him, and then he pins him off that. Eddie then on the outside stokes the beef between the Animals and the Revolution. Yep.
I'm guessing
a mess, as you said.
I'm guessing we're supposed to think that the Revolution are the heels here. But, like, Tenay says that Saturn didn't want to take the win over Eddie on Nitro because Douglas cheated. So, yeah. Who exactly is the heel in this situation?
Well, this, as we just read in The Observer, the intention, at least as of the end of this week, is to push the whole group, because Douglas has been transparently a heel for a little while, and it seemed like he was going to split off from the other three because he's a heel and the other three weren't, but now it looks like the whole group is going to shift that way.
So dumb.
Yeah. Sid and Charles Robinson are out. It's 99-0. So for those of you keeping track, compared to earlier when Booker T was talking to Tenay, the score has jumped from the mid 80s to 99-0.
Yeah.
In just about 20 minutes. So Sid has been just pinning people backstage.
I have a question, Dave. What does RFTM stand for on Charles's 99-0 sign? Because I was looking at it trying to figure it out, and I can't.
My head was thinking TM. Is that the Millennium?
That's the only thing I can come up with.
Yeah. Get in the comments. Tell us what RFTM means. We're not looking it up. One thing, again, I pointed this out a couple of weeks ago, and one thing that makes me feel better about this streak thing that wasn't emphasized enough by Death of WCW was that, yes, it's a farcical win streak, but even the commentators aren't keeping up the pretense. Like, even they're going, he's just making this up.
Yeah, it's all bullshit, and that's the whole point of it, is to get to the Goldberg match. So, it is good heat in my book. Yeah.
Whereas, like, I think a lot of people, their vague memories of it are that they took the streak seriously for longer than they did. Like, the first couple of weeks, I'll give you that it seemed like they were taking it seriously while also making up the numbers.
But he was also doing actual handicap matches to build the numbers.
Yeah. He reminds Goldberg not to break any rules. He thinks the only reason Goldberg is going to show up because he loves these pukes too much that are called wrestling fans. Just a very stilted Sid promo, and not the last of the night. We get a lot. I had completely forgotten about Coach Buzz Stern.
Mm-hmm.
He's here with Luther Biggs. He is bringing him all the way to Thunder. So we're on the precipice of the one appearance of Coach Buzz Stern on Thunder.
Can't wait. Career-saving moment for Mr. Glacier.
For sure. Monday we get a flashback to Sting versus Benoit, which I bet under different circumstances could be an absolute banger.
Hey Dave, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did Chris Benoit beat Rick Steiner for the TV title? Because Rick Steiner did not have the TV title on this show. Chris Benoit had the TV title on his shoulder on Nitro.
I guess he must have.
Like,
but was this his sec? Oh, because the thing is, we need to remember there's been two Nitros.
Yes, and that was going to be my point. So was Benoit's reward for dropping the US belt to Sid to win the TV title the next night?
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Like, was it a case of Nash saying to him, look, I know we promised you X with the US title, but, you know, this Sid Goldberg thing is hot. So here, we're going to give you the TV title?
Maybe. What I appreciated about this match was that Benoit got a visual pin on
2 of them.
Sting, the World Heavyweight Champion. Yes, twice. Luger comes out with the bat. Flair comes out to save Benoit after the pin. DDP cutters Flair. Hogan comes out next. DDP says he's above Rick on the food chain. Hogan announces just this all-star 6-man tag with him. Is it him, Flair, and Brett on one team against the heels?
Mm-hmm.
And I just, again, classic WCW. It's like, that could easily be a pay-per-view main event.
Now, look, to their credit, they're giving it a week's build.
Yes, that is a week more than they usually would, to be fair. Like when they did that, was it Goldberg, Sting, Hogan, 6-man? It was on an hour and a half's notice.
So I have a new slogan for Sting.
Right.
So, as you know, for years now we've been saying he's sad and he has a belt. Now he's bad and he has a belt.
He has a bat and he's bad. Yeah. What happened to you, Steve Stinger? Him as a pensioner now is more compelling than him as a heel in '99.
Yeah,
go figure.
Look, it's. I get what they were trying, but like as we said on the pay-per-view, the two sides are like just out of whack. It should be Sting, Luger, and DDP defending WCW against these other fucking arseholes.
Great googly moogly. Van Hammer versus Prince Ikea, the Flatpack Sovereign.
So, Dave, my first reaction...
The Aaron Quinn segment.
My first reaction to this match. How many times do you think we have already seen this match?
Did you get
I looked this up. I've done my research here.
Any number between 0 and 4,000 will not surprise me.
No, genuinely, how many times do you think we've seen this match on Thunder so far?
4.
Dave, this was a first time ever match.
God.
Not even...
What a privilege.
They literally had only shared the ring during World War III.
Oh my God. That's insane that just didn't happen in a thrown together match before now.
I could have sworn that these two have had like a best of 7 series on Thunder.
It's also about the 4th time we've had a match where the commentators start off by going, Prince Ikea has a harder edge than the last time we saw him. And then he goes on to fucking lose.
I tell you what, if he gets any harder, he'll be fucking Tank Abbott by the time we see him again.
Damn right. I wrote, what a lack of talent here. It's a punch kick special, and I was like, and in case you wondered why that would be, why these men couldn't be trusted to do anything else, is because Van Hammer nearly falls over doing an inverted atomic drop then, where literally the bump is you go down to one knee, and he almost couldn't do that without falling on his arse.
Now, yeah, I'm not going to argue that, but I'd also say this match was probably better than Chavo versus Saturn.
Yeah, probably. Van just kind of stretches him for a while. No one cares about Ikea's comeback, that's for damn sure. Van puts it down pretty quickly, hits his Cobra clutch slam, and wins. Waste of my life. And then, Lee...
Time for Van Hammer
to gets on the mic.
Step up, Dave. He's stepping up.
And what does he say?
And he challenges... Well, first of all, he calls out the production team for not having this on their run sheet. Because he's shooting, Dave.
Yeah.
He's shooting.
He's shooting from the hip.
And people think it was Russo that introduced shooting. No. It was Van Hammer.
It was your boy.
Hammer says that he's calling out the winner of tonight's main event for Nitro. So he said he doesn't care if it's Booker T or he doesn't care if it's Sid. So Van Hammer's...
Long-term storytelling.
Van Hammer's coming for that US title, Dave.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, for one, I want Van Hammer as the martial arts division champion.
I know you do. Fucking chaos reigns. the lowest ebb of that title, and that title has been some places. That title has had to be stripped because of inactivity twice, and this would still be the lowest ebb. Next up, we got Rick Steiner versus Eddie Guerrero. Rick Steiner does his promo. I wrote, "Fuck off, Rick." Tenay alerts us, as you said earlier, Lee, that Scott is back, and he has aligned himself right back with Rick and Sid. We could have had Eddie versus Scott, and I know Scott is still hurting, but it still would have been a damn sight better. Eddie is one of the greatest to have ever lived, and even he couldn't get anything out of this fucking lump.
Well, the first thing I have is Rick Steiner's done it. He's had the bad Eddie Guerrero match.
Yeah. Eddie is such an unbelievable face in peril, and it's almost a superhuman effort to make this a passable match, and he doesn't achieve it. It's bad, folks. He rallies a little. Eddie hits a really impressive standing Hurricane Rana, like just the vertical leap on the man. Mm-hmm. And then,
of course,
Sid comes out for a DQ.
Yeah, at that point, after Eddie's first offensive move of the match, here comes Sid. Mm-hmm. And Eddie has to choke slam himself off the top rope. Yeah. Just a waste. An absolute waste.
Yeah. The heels kill the baby faces. And this leads us into the Cruiserweight title match. Lenny versus Evan Courageous. After we're told that Evan Courageous has recently had some guest spots on All My Children, we actually get a match. I did laugh at Larry saying that instead of going on TV, he should go down to the power plant and learn how to wrestle.
Well,
if I wanted to learn how to wrestle, the power plant is not where I would have gone, sir.
Well, after watching this match, I kind of can't argue with Larry's logic, because the finish to this match, oh boy.
Talk us through this match, Lee.
The match was pretty fine. As we've said over the past number of weeks, Lenny Lane is he's pretty good, competent in the ring, and has pretty good matches. I can do without the gay panic spots, and it is what it is at this point. Courageous is very, very, very green. I can see why they're wanting to do something with him. If he's getting these kind of TV spots and stuff, the guy is shredded, so I'll give him that. But God, Courageous tries to do a sunset flip powerbomb out of the corner and almost tangles himself up in the ropes. Mm-hmm. Then Lodi botches his interference spot, and I don't know if it was a case of Courageous didn't want to take the corner bump, where you knock their feet out and they bump into the corner, or crotch themselves in the corner, or what. But Lodi ended up having to push Courageous off the ropes, and Nick Patrick is standing right there going, "Hey, what are you doing?" But then we get the finish. Oh my God. So the planned finish was that Courageous was going to go for some kind of roll up, and Lenny would catch him, grab him by the feet, slingshot into Lodi, who was standing on the apron. Well, that's not what happened, Dave, because after 4 attempts, they figured out that Evan Courageous did not know how to take a slingshot. And Lenny Lane proceeded to, what I can only describe as, yeet Evan Courageous towards the ropes. And then he hits his finish. But, I mean, I don't know about you, Dave, but if somebody doesn't understand the very basic thing of put your shoulders onto the mat so then I can fall back dramatically and you fling yourself into the ropes, I'm not sure they should be working on TV.
No, probably not. Probably not. And I've seen him be better. He's still he's green as grass every time I've seen him, but I think this was his least impressive showing we've had so far.
But they tried 3 or 4 times to get him into position, and he just wouldn't drop to the mat.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was at this stage of the show where I was just kind of bummed out.
Now, look, Lenny Lane is clearing out that Cruiserweight division.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he?
Like, he's on a fucking
Mad.
streak here. Like, he's just going through everybody.
Yeah.
Also, we should note that on their entrance, I don't know if you spotted this, but Lodi had the hottest sign in the history of pro wrestling.
What did he say?
He just said, what?
Oh, hello.
A year and a half to 2 years before one Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Somewhere across the country, backstage at SmackDown, someone's watching a monitor on Turner, be like, well, goddamn, kid. Write something down in a notebook for a couple of years from now.
So obviously you know the story of why what became a thing, don't you? Mm-hmm. Where Austin...
Do you want to regale the listeners with it?
So the story that...
So that's not just a private conversation between us. Yes, Lee, I know what you're talking about. Great. See you later, sir.
So
Theatre of the mind, Lee. I probably should have pretended and go, no, Lee.
I mean, look,
know.
that's what I was setting you up for, but you...
Sorry, I'm usually good at doing that and going, giving you the office, but I shut you down.
You just had to go, yes, of course I know, I'm fucking smart.
Classic. Violated the first rule of improv. I didn't yes and you. Sorry.
So the story that Austin always told was that in the year, was probably 2000, on their road trips, whoever was in the car with him, so Austin would ring, I think it was Christian, Edge, and there may have been one or two others, and Austin would proceed to cut these promos on himself while constantly interrupting what. Mm-hmm. And these promos got to be so funny, and all the guys in the back loved it, that were just like, why aren't we doing this on screen? And that's where it all came from, is that Austin was killing time on drives, fucking prank calling the guys and cutting promos on them. So my question is Lodi doing that very same thing in 1999 and cutting promos on fucking Scott Levy while driving down the road?
I think it started off as him cutting promos at Scott Levy, and he was just going, Scott! Scott! At the end of all of them, and I was like, hold on. There's something here.
So, yeah. But yeah, a good...
Let him cook.
A good year and a half to 2 years before Mr. Austin came up with what? Here was Lodi, the trendsetter.
Mm-hmm. Lee, I'm actually gonna, seeing as you're he's one of your boys as well as Blitzkrieg, I think I'm gonna start giving you the Office during Sid Vicious matches.
I mean, I don't think you should.
I think I will.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of work for me.
Yeah, that's what I like about it, to be honest. We get a flashback to the Van Hammer challenge before this, as if you had forgotten what happened 20 minutes ago, if that. And now, our main event, the WCW United States Heavyweight title and Martial Arts Division Championship. Sid Vicious with Charles Robinson and Rick Steiner in his corner versus Booker T with no one in his corner.
I mean, I don't have much notes because you're the note taker here. I'm the colour guy. This is like putting Wade Barrett as the main analyst on the show. Like, it's not going to work.
Sorry, that's an interesting way of saying coward. If you want to give me back if you want to hot tag me back in.
I mean, look, there's not much notes to have. So, like you say, Charles and Steiner are out with Sid here, and Nick Patrick proceeds to come out and kick Charles out of the ring.
Yeah,
and the commentators speculate that he's kicking him out, to the back, and Steiner to the back, except he's not. He's just leaving him at ringside because, of course, they won't interfere, Dave. So, match starts up. Booker, kind of jump starts the match, sends Sid to the outside. They brawl a bit, do a bit of crowd brawling, all around, basically one side of the ringside, come back out the other. I did like the girls in the front row screeching anytime Sid or Booker got near them. I thought that added a nice little bit to the match. We get, again, I can't be sure if these were piped in or not, but we do get some very loud Goldberg chants.
Yeah.
Considering,
I think they felt organic this time. Either it was a very good dub.
Yeah, I was just going to say, considering how quiet this crowd has been, I can't help but feel they might have been piped in, but they did. It was a good position anyway. So my next note is that we get Booker back on top with an axe kick, and he actually hits the missile drop kick for a near fall, but one Rick Steiner, who's still at ringside, Dave, I don't know if you've forgotten, he's still at ringside. Shockingly, he interferes and pulls out Nick Patrick.
Although interesting that the missile dropkick was protected, because I actually thought Sid was going to kick out of it.
I thought he was as well, because he takes a big bump all the way out to the corner of the ring. So I was like, he's going to put his feet on the rope. But no, Steiner pulls out the ref. Charles gets in. Steiner gets on the apron. Charles, for whatever reason, stops Booker from hitting Steiner. And then we just get basically a 3-on-1, and we get the assisted powerbomb for the pin. And Sid remains not only your US champion, but your martial arts division champion.
Long may he reign, says you.
Listen, I'm here for
it. Yeah, look, it wasn't the worst Thunder main event you've ever seen, but it didn't, like...
do you know what? At least it was different, because how often in 1999 WCW were we getting crowd brawling?
It's true. Well, look, in about 5 weeks, Jeff Jarrett's going to arrive. That's the fucking king of crowd brawling.
That is true.
You're going to be fucking sick of it before long. And the hardcore division is mere months away from starting.
At least that brings Terry Funk back to us.
Yeah, God bless him. We are 100%. Like, one of the key shows I have in my head that I'm looking forward to for the rest of our timeline is Terry Funk versus the Horse.
Now, Dave, you'll have to remember, when Terry Funk shows up, we'll have to explain who he is, because there's people that won't know who Terry Funk is, like Alan Farrell.
Terry Funk is, yes. Yeah. And when Alan Farrell gets to that show in late 2028, he'll be fuming.
But yeah, basically,
just thinking of it again.
Well,
him just thinking of it all again. Yeah.
So the show closes with Sid cutting a promo.
Have we ever done jokes on this show for an audience of exactly one person like that?
Always. That's basically the existence of this show.
We exist to pop Alan.
I thought we existed to pop Lex Luger fan.
Yeah, I don't even post these on the RSS feed anymore. I just send them to Alan.
But I did like the show closing with Sid just cutting a promo in the dark. Well, he sweating profusely.
Yeah, into it. Like, I do think him screaming Goldberg, "This will happen to you," into a dead mic is very funny. He also called him Mr. Goldberg, and says it's going to be the scariest night in wrestling history, and then finishes off by going, "Yeah."
Yeah, he's just making noises as the show goes off the air. Actually, before we go, can we talk about Sid has worked hard since he came back? I think we should give him credit. He has worked hard.
Look, he's been a hoot. Like, he's not good in a classical or literal sense, but he's been great box office value.
He's totally made these shows much more palatable. I won't say good. Yeah. Palatable.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's just, we need to get him away from the Steiners.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good hard and fast rule for life, isn't it? Lee, that's Thunder episode 81 in the books. What were your overall thoughts on the show, and who were your winners and losers?
For all its faults, I didn't think the show was awful. The booking still is slightly confusing. As I said, it's not really clear what the alignment of the Filthy Animals are, what the alignment of the Revolution is, where this third faction of Chavo and the Luchadors comes in. It's all very kind of confusing at the moment. Sting as a heel, as the lead heel, just still doesn't make any sense. I will give them credit for doing the Van Hammer challenge and carrying that through to the next week. It's a baby step, but it's a baby step in the right direction. And look, I'll never complain about Booker T getting the main event spot. And obviously the best match of the night, as you talked about, was Brandy Alexander and Mona. To me, they're the two winners. Just they came out and put on a really good wrestling match.
Yeah. I can't disagree with you there. Let's see. The finish counter brought to you by Ludwig Borger gives us 7 matches with 2 clean finishes, 1 DQ, 3 interference leading directly to a finish, and 1 miscellaneous shenanigan. Yeah, that's another episode of Days of Thunder in the bag. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back on the free feed in 2 weeks. We will be back in 1 week over at largemanappears.com, where you could join for just 5 Europeans a month and get yourself a minimum of 3 bonus podcasts per month. In January, we had a great run, Lee. We had the non-Rumble Royale. We had the first of Season 3 of Thunder Request Live, covering Ring of Honor Best in the World 2018. And just shortly before this show went up, we had the return of Grab Bag Radio, my solo audio project, once every 2 months. You will be up in February with your solo audio piece, Lone Lee. And yeah, we are cooking to start 2024.
And obviously in February as well, we will have a very special TRL episode that's months in the making. I think I said I was going to reveal it on the show, didn't I?
Yes, I think so. So hit us with what one of our... This is... I feel like everyone with a Patreon says this, but this is a great month to sign up for the Patreon because of this show.
In February, we will have a very special look back at Sting's entire run in AEW. So not Sting's career. This is very specifically what listener of the show, Mateo, asked for. It's Sting in AEW. So we will go back right to the beginning, through his debut, through his first match, his alignment with Darby, all of that.
Yeah, relive us nearly crying, jumping up and down, hugging each other as Seek and Destroy plays out around Wembley. All the good shit in the build-up to the Stinger taking one final bow. And also this month we will have rehash of the Champions 10.
Yes, and we will have a very special guest on that show with us as well.
Yes, indeed. More on that later. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Days of Thunder. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone, for listening to another episode of Days of Thunder. Days of Thunder was produced by Lee Malone and edited by me, Dave Ryan. To keep up to date with the show and find all the ways to listen to us, you can follow us on Twitter at WCW Thunderpod, or click the Linktree link in our Twitter bio or in the show notes. I am at the Day to Dave on Twitter, and Lee is at Malone_713. Days of Thunder is a part of the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. Follow the VOW network anywhere good podcasts are sold for more fine podcasts than you can shake a stick at. Thanks.
Hey kids, do you like wrestling? Well, we like wrestling too. We are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of doing a lazy river of wrestling criticism, going through the news and whatever happened in stateside television wrestling. And also, you know what? Sometimes we just like to watch old stuff and talk about that too. Love for you to give us a listen. If you haven't already, we are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network.